Knuckles, what's up, Knuckles? What's going on, buddy?
Good morning,
I think we're
sir.
live. I think we're live.
Fired up, man.
I want to spend this 20 minutes talking about what's going on in the Middle East. I don't think a lot of people really know what's going on. Hit us with some of your knowledge, bro, because I like my Jewish friends, bro. I like them. I want to like them. What's up?
Problem with Jewish people. Here's the distinction. People need to do a little studying on Zionism. Zionism does not necessarily have to be, and it actually isn't, religious in nature. It's not. It was founded by an atheist, non-practicing Jew.
A Jewish atheist.
In the 1800s, Theodor Herzl came up with, people are, they can be religiously Jewish, or they can also be what's the term I'm looking for? You genetically, or culturally, or what? Any number of things, but you don't always have to be religious. There are plenty of people that identify as Jewish but are atheists. I have friends that are Jews that, like, I'm not practicing. It's like with Catholics, like, yeah, you're a Catholic, but this is different. The Jewish people are very fascinating history. I mean, even if you think the Bible is horseshit through and through, it's a good study to look into what these people have been reading for thousands of years and listen to them. Listen to the people within that religion.
Not to sidetrack you. What's
on all different sides. Let's rope it back. So what's going on right now is the latest and greatest of the conflict that it's been going on for 75 years back and forth. Latest one, Hamas did a horrible series of atrocities on a bunch of Israelis. And in response, Israel killed a whole bunch of Palestinians. Now, the argument is pretty simple in my mind, because I have principles of non-aggression principle and, do unto others, things like that. But it's funny how people can get to compromise all of their principles, their morality, because some pain occurs. And this was the thing that really, really bothered me, because I saw it happen to me in the wake of 9/11 when I started, as a reaction to the pain that was inflicted on what I perceived as my people, that I completely just did not care about their people. So to me, and I would even say it, like, I don't care if they turn all of the Middle East into a parking lot, bomb it all, kill them all. And that was when I was very stupid, naive, and not really thinking much and just speaking out of emotion. And that was common among a lot of people after 9/11. Well, it's very common among people who support, who are Israelis, who are Jews, that immediately, when such a horrible thing, like, make no mistake, like, I'm not one of the people that's going to be in support of Hamas or excuse any of those things. There is no reason ever to kill a child. I mean, like, okay, you're going to find one in 100 million thing, but for reality, you're really not going to be able to persuade me anymore that there's a way that it's okay now. Yesterday, it wasn't okay to kill kids. But today it's okay to kill those kids, not these ones or those ones or any, blah, 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 blah. No, those ones who are somehow connected, that I feel close enough to these guys who actually did horrible, horrible things, that on the off chance that we're going to get enough bad guys, we're willing to sacrifice human beings, children included, for the greater good, the defense of our people.
I didn't think Jewish people were capable. I was naive. I didn't know that when I look and I'm listening, I'm like, what are you saying, man? I mean, did they kill your kids, so now you can kill their kids? There's no way you're that stupid or immoral. There's no way.
Well, I've tried and I've discussed it with a lot of people, and I just hear a lot of the same stuff that I used to echo, and you realize it's just programming. It isn't thinking. That I got a guy to walk down his line of logic, and I let him realize, like, what you're saying right now is you're okay with genocide. And he's like, yeah. And I go, I want you to say that. He's like, I'm okay with it. And he's like, I'm okay with it. And I go, no, say the word. He's like, I'm okay with genocide. I'm like,
humans.
thank you. And I love that. I love when a statist, somebody who supports the idea of a coercive central government, finds a way to excuse horrible behavior. I appreciate that way more than the political spinning of trying to give me some bullshit that logics me into a corner and I go, well, okay, I guess so, because hey man, did we do that? We did that during World War II. We did that. See, that's the problem with collectivism. It forces you to fold yourself into the collective, and you don't have an identity.
Specifically.
Yeah.
What is going on exactly? We're the Palestinians. They're the weaker of the two. They're in the Gaza Strip. There are some other
in a way,
so they're kind of confined. That they don't get what they need. They're kind of living a rough life, right? Then you got the Israelis. They're the Jews. They're the ones with the money. They're the ones with all the control. They got the military.
They're the ruling class with the wealth, not even just most of the wealth. All the wealth.
From what I know from Hitchens, what I've read and I've heard Hitchens talk about, they both want the same thing. They want the other side out, so that they can get their land back and get it pure. And it's the beginning of Armageddon, as far as I know. It's some sort of death thing, or death cult, or whatever. But the Jews want to get all the Arabs out of Palestine or Israel, right?
Israel.
To get as much Jews back into Palestine as possible. That's their end game, right? I mean, explain it to
basically. Me. Yeah, in a nutshell, yeah. That, for me, it's easy to just kind of make it look like it's even on both sides. It's like, well, they just have a dispute over the land, and these guys say it's theirs and they have their God, and these guys say it's theirs and they have their God. You can separate all that out, and you need to just look at it as a political situation. I know a lot of people love to get caught up in all the religiosity of what's going on, and that's definitely horrible, and it pollutes everybody's rational thinking because you're introducing stuff you can't prove or disprove. Ooh. So, barring faith, we can operate on what we can actually see and what we actually know has happened. The state of Israel was created 75 years ago. Before that, didn't exist. Before that, it was another series of different occupying groups in that area. So this is just the latest iteration of occupying groups. It's a group that got recognition from the UN, and especially with the help of Truman in the US, to give the thumbs up and say, we recognize the foundation of a new government governing this area. And the fucked thing is, guess what? It wasn't just Arabs and Muslims living in the area in 1948 when they said, from now on, here's the rules, here's the guys in charge. We don't need to ask your permission. We don't even need to get anybody representing you to be a part of when we make decisions and how we enforce them. So all that came down not only on the Arabs and the Muslims, but Christians and Jews who had been living there for a very long time, generationally, many generations. So even if you would have said like, oh, guess what? It's not a big deal, because most of the people there were already Jews and they were pretty cool with the idea. The problem was just a few people, even if it was zero. What you did was you forced your government on people who didn't consent to it. Why is it okay if it's government? But if any other group, any other organization behaved that way, that, hey, guess what? All of a sudden you're doing business with my business. You're like, no, I don't want to. Or you roll into somebody else's business and you go, sorry, you can't do business with that guy. Nobody would stand for that. But when it gets this seal of approval of the UN and like, government's cool, it's okay to initiate aggression as long as you're doing it with the proper paperwork.
What's got me recently is apparently in this country people are picking sides for some reason. Why? I have no idea.
For some reason?
Why would you ever get
wait.
any of that?
Sides. everything in this country is sides. Nobody gets to be in the middle. You have to pick a side. You can't remain neutral. There's a game on. Do you root for the Niners or the fucking Bengals?
Fuck 'em.
You got to pick a side. I'm the guy
Fucking
over here going,
stupid.
I just hope that I see a really exciting, good game and everybody plays their best and nobody gets hurt. But everybody's like, that's like the rabid form of the most crazy, fucked up fans that you can imagine. What would they do if they were so angry at the other team, like the horrible things, or even if they win, they might burn the fucking town and like, oh, it's crazy. That's nothing compared to everyday acceptable behavior by the government and its agents.
Right.
That's par for the course.
Agreed.
It's not theft. It's taxes because we spend it on stuff you want. And I'm like, but look at all this big list of shit I don't want. You're sending all this money to a country that I feel is actively engaging in ethnic cleansing and borderline, if not genocide. Talk to Human Rights Watch. Talk to any of the groups that you would ever think as like, who would be good guys, or kind of neutral, like, yeah, everybody's, swayed one way or another. I like looking at Doctors Without Borders.
Right. Yeah.
Organizations like that where it's like, our only goal is helping people. Don't care who they are. We're here to help people. And how many times found themselves and their workers who are volunteering to help people in horrible areas of the world get killed by the good guys saying, hey, man, sometimes you got to bomb a hospital in Afghanistan to get the bad guys. Well, guess what? You got a bunch of aid workers, too. Aid workers. It's not, you can excuse the children because, those guys, they're going to grow up to just be like the bad guys because that's their culture. Those are their people.
Right.
What about the aid workers that are from your country? What if some of those hostages that may get killed, which I'm sure they're never going to say it was an Israeli bomb that killed any of them. As soon as you find one of them dead, it's going to had to be Hamas, which maybe it was. But if you bomb an area and they have hostages, are you really okay with the idea you just killed some of your own people to serve the greater good somehow?
That type of behavior, I know you like to you're trying to steer away from the religious aspect of this thing, but I don't think you can. I mean, they're trying to steal as much land as they can from the Arabs. I don't think they would be doing that if there wasn't some sort of religious rationale.
It's not religious, because even Joe Biden and many other Americans, especially a lot of Christians, I went to a lot of churches as a youth. My mom took me to a lot of them because she was a searcher. She's looking for the truth. So I, as a preteen and teen, went to dozens of different variations on the Christian vibe, and a lot of them, without the ability to question it, it was just, well, here it's written, support Israel, pray for Israel, Israel. And some of them, quite a few in fact, not only put a U.S. flag right up there where it's right next to a crucifix or a cross or the guy telling you about Jesus, they put a U.S. flag, but a lot of them put up the Israel flag too. I wonder.
I don't see anything but a religious rationale behind that. I don't. I see
the Zionists.
Americans, their interest over there is strictly Armageddon.
Okay.
The end times. They're
fanatical
Christians?
Okay. Yes. It is very, very obvious. And if you talk to people who got shopped around a lot of churches like I did, a lot of people will even tell you, like, yes, there were some guys that came and they spoke to the church about how the Bible tells us we got to support Israel and Jesus was a Jew and blah, 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 blah. And they always tied it into the wonderful, wacky fire and brimstone wrap-up chapter of Revelation, which nobody agrees on. Nobody agrees on it, but everybody's so sure in this zealous apocalypse cult sect, little section. It's actually kind of big, of American Christians that go, the temple needs to get rebuilt.
Right.
So that's the only way that Jesus will come back. So we need to support Israel no matter what. You go, whoa. Does that mean you're cool with Israel dropping bombs on kids? Right. Pardon me if I have to reference
any other
the Messiah, but didn't he say love your enemies? Didn't he say that?
Of course.
Am I wrong? Am I wrong here?
I don't see any other way that those people are allowing that for those things to be happening, except for their belief in God. There's no oil there. Art. There's nothing there. It's all. The only reason they're there is for the religious rationale. I
agree.
Why else do we care?
I agree, but here's where I draw a bit of a distinction. There's a lot of people who are religious and they're scholars. They're well educated. They have really good opinions on stuff. Not all of them are really quality people, should I say?
Yeah,
some of them definitely use religious texts to persuade people that may be on the fence to go, oh, we need to be a little more radical. So I'm sure this happens just about every religion because none of them are really, really monolithic. How many different sects of Christianity are there? Didn't they have like a big fight sometime where some dude nailed up something on the church and he's like, I don't particularly agree with the way you do things. And the church was brutal for a very long time. And so anyway, roping it back to the religious question, so much of it is the knowing manipulation of religious people by those who really don't espouse those beliefs. They use them just like any good con man. And trust me, when you go to enough Christian churches, you find the people that go, oh, I realize these are good people. I can take advantage of them by speaking the words that they use, using that language, all those terms, and I can rob them. And a lot of them will keep supporting me after I fuck them. And so religion is so pollutive that whenever it gets spread and disseminated, there's going to be people, just like if a new tool comes out, a gun. Wow, today guns exist. Now I can defend myself. Yeah, but now that guy can shoot you. No matter what.
I understand what the interest was with Iraq. Oil. What's the interest, if it's not this Armageddon thing, with Palestine?
I could speculate. Have you looked at the Gaza Strip? It's a fucking beachfront property on the Mediterranean.
I always wanted to go there.
How much?
It would be awesome there.
If you right now had to purchase Gaza,
I don't think that's it. But it's funny to think about. But I mean, come on.
No, there is. But there is, because there are also ports, and any port on the Mediterranean is really quality. And guess what?
Oh, so you're talking about strategic, where it's location.
Yes. Do you know what the Suez Canal is, right? You know what the Suez Canal is?
Yeah, for sure.
So people don't have to go all the way around Africa.
Right.
They get to cut through between Egypt and Palestine, the Sinai Peninsula. Right. So in that little area, on one side, you already have the Suez Canal, right? It's the Suez Canal, I believe. Yeah, Egypt. But
the Mediterranean and the Gulf, right? Right.
It links it to where you don't have to travel thousands of miles. Right. And it's great to have militarily. There's a lot of history with that going forward from World War II, where the United States did a power play with England and France and everybody, and it's always been something that people want to get their hands on. Not religious. Well, guess what? Just a little bit east is right where the Gaza Strip is, where the border is, where you could create a whole new canal. And you don't need the Suez Canal anymore. Now you have a new canal that goes between Israel and the Sinai Peninsula and Egypt. You have all this area to where, who cares if you dig all that out? It's dirt. There ain't nobody there. It's a wasteland. Right, but guess what? Hold on. Wait. Guess what? That's the area where the Israelis are telling all the Palestinians, hey, leave and go that way into the area where the Jews wandered for 40 years until God said, okay, you guys have served your time. Now I'll give you the promised land. It wasn't because they couldn't find it. It's because they didn't listen to God. And even the Orthodox Jews recognize, they go, we're not supposed to have Israel. We were exiled by God.
Wow.
Your Zionism does not give you the right to go and take back what God has not said you can have. So they look at Israel as an absolute affront to God and the Torah and all of the prophets that told them the punishment that you suffered time and time again from the wilderness out of Egypt over and over, not listening to your prophets, not following the law and the commandments. He kicked them out once. They had to go to Babylon. God said, okay, y'all can go back. Let them go back. And then they fucked up again. And the Romans tore the shit down and scattered them again. And then they said, well, fuck waiting for God. We're going on our own. So it'd be no different than when Moses and everybody was out in the desert and Moses said, we got to wait for God. And they said, fuck you, Moses. And they went over, and they planted a stake, and they said, this is now Israel. Well, guess what? That probably wouldn't work out too well, just like the state of Israel has not worked out very well. How many fucking bodies do you need to prove the point that that was a bad idea? Apparently, it's never going to be enough because you inserted religion into it. And when do you ever tell God no? So the Zionists don't give a fuck about God, but then they point to the religious Jews and go, well, wait, don't you want the temple back? Don't you want the promised land? What kind of a good Jew are you that would say we shouldn't have Israel, the promised land that was given to us and stolen by so many different empires? We own that land. Look at the history. We've been run off of it time and time and time and time again. But the problem is they're not listening to God. They're listening to their own selfish desires, political leaders, and people who want to exploit their religion. The exploiters of religion is the biggest problem, not religion. It's the people who selfishly use it to manipulate the minds and hearts of decent people. Most Muslims would never say, yes, jihad means killing people who are not Muslim. But you push enough of them far enough, you're going to get a few of them that go, yes, it does, and they'll convince other people.
You sound like a Muslim apologist, bro. You know
They're beautiful people, man, by and large. But there are a lot of bad ones, just like there are a lot of bad Christians. And oh my God, there are a lot of bad Jews? No, you can't say that. You're not allowed to say that. You can say there are plenty of evil Christians. Oh, yeah, even now, like, yeah, you know, it's not really popular. We're up after that 9/11 shit. We can't really say, you know, Islam is a death cult, and like, but some people still do. But I mean, if Muslims really just wanted to wipe out all Jews anywhere and everywhere, why is that not happening in all the different places around the world for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, even since before State of Israel was a thing? Why have Jews lived side by side with Muslims in many places and got along fine? Sure, there have been lots of problems. Of course there have. There have been lots of problems with everybody because that's humans and that's control, centralized control. Whether it's religion or a state, whatever it is, when you consolidate power into an elite group of people who largely remain unaccountable, it creates this. What exactly we're seeing, whether they're using religion or somebody's philosophy, like Mao and Stalin, Pol Pot, they were avowed atheists. There was zero religious motivation there except for to wipe out religion.
The state was their god.
In a sense, yeah, but it's not a real god.
The mother country in Russia, they considered, you know.
To me, that makes way more sense to a 20th century, 21st century mentality is, how are you going to sell somebody on the idea that it's okay to kill children? oh, the invisible guy that when you die
The only
will
way to
judge
do it.
everyone.
The only
No,
way to do it.
it's your government, because you already accepted that your government is okay with
Sure.
taking money from people and using it for things you like. So at what point do you finally go, I have a principle, I have a morality, and I will not compromise. I will not make myself a hypocrite. Being a hypocrite is nothing ever to be admirable. In Dante's Inferno, that was one of the worst places to be in hell, was with the hypocrites and the traitors. So statism makes everyone a hypocrite. It makes you okay with genocide. It makes you okay with theft. It makes you okay with supporting politicians that a large part of what they do, you would never support if the guy from the other party was trying to pass it or force you to pay for it. But the guy who has the right letter after his name, or the guy that wears the proper headdress with the little thing, or the religious leader, or the whatever official guy, that now I get to abandon my morality.
Yes.
And I just can say, it's okay now. It's okay now. You don't have to worry about your conscience being filled, because God is on our side. God,
Well, you can see what they did. I mean, after 9/11, I was right there with you. They dehumanized.
They got me.
Muslims.
They got me.
Yeah.
They fucking got me. A good Christian boy, and they convinced me. Yeah, whoever they can, all the time.
Whoever they can. The one side wants you to think that the other side's.
Well, why else?
To them.
Why else would it be a thing that is just acceptable and people wave it? Literally a flag of the thin blue line, representing, as cops, we all stick by each other no matter what. That's our club. That's our gang. That's our clan. That's us. And they even put it on a fucking American flag, and these so-called patriots I see riding around in their big fucking pickup trucks, and they got a big old US flag, or maybe a Confederate flag, and they got a fucking thin blue line flag. Woo! I do love the police. Wait a minute. Whoa.
It's a funny group. That you can have an IQ that's too high to join the group too.
Yeah, that's because the Supreme Court said it is absolutely groovy if part of the reason why you didn't hire a guy to be a cop was, no, dude, you're too smart.
Your IQ's too high.
Go find a real job, brother.
Go ahead.
We only hire special people here. People, we got to give them a chance. Sometimes you get a guy, and God damn, he seems like such a good guy. He works really good with the kids. He's a cop. Look at him. The people love him. I think we should promote this guy and put him in a position where, instead of doing jamborees and outreach programs and just being the fun guy for the the face of the cops, so that everybody waves those thin blue lines, let's promote him to homicide detective. Wait, what? Isn't that like a really serious job, being a detective?
Yeah.
Isn't part of the job of being a detective that, maybe you go on your gut instinct?
Wouldn't you think that at some point in life that you would be like, hey, if I fuck things up, I'm going to screw people's lives up. I should not be here. I shouldn't be given this type of power. I mean, you would.
Well, that'll never come in.
If I was there, I would know. I would be like, no, it's just not me. I mean, I screw up.
Power is intoxicating. Power is intoxicating. Oh. Anybody who's ever had a little modicum of power, and just about everybody has, your little work cubicle or wherever it is that you're king shit, and you get to tell that guy on the phone, like, hey, fuck you. Fuck him. Go file a complaint, motherfucker. Like, in your own workplace, you can get away with all kinds of abuse. And you never really look at it as like, oh, that was fucked up. I fucked that guy. It's like, but think about what that thin blue line means. Let's say one of your coworkers at, I don't know, Walmart decides, I don't like that this customer's getting a little mouthy with me. So I'm just going to slam his ass to the ground. And if he resists, boy, oh boy, me and all the boys are going to thump his ass real good. And then we're going to drag him in the back and we're going to humiliate him and we're going to force him to pay us money until we let him go. You would never accept that from any business, but we accept it from the cops. And is it any surprise that, like, okay, just like your workplace, people talk shit about the customers, they kind of maybe abuse them a little bit? What if there was no real accountability by and large, like really, really by and large, of how much you can really abuse people? Like, well, the camera went off again. I don't know. It just happens a lot, Or what happens when you find yourself in a position of authority and you really, just because you're not bright, you're a cop, so you couldn't possibly
I couldn't
be that bright. So
I wouldn't.
what do you do if you get put into a position and you go, wow, with great responsibility, with great power comes great responsibility. So I'm going to really try to even do my best. And they're not thinking about the collateral damage. They're always thinking about doing the good, except for the guys who one day wake up and go, oh my God, what have I done? And they take that service revolver and woo! Yeah, those stats are kind of impressive. And it makes you wonder why they do that.
Awesome.
When everybody loves to go, oh, violence against cops is so horrible. And gun crime is so horrible. And you go, most cops that die, how does that happen? Suicide?
Suicide.
Well, why?
Right,
why? Why? Why is nobody asking why? Why? Why is the number one killer of cops? Cops.
Cops. All right, cool.
Hey, man. Sometimes the trash takes itself out.
You guys take care, man. Tomorrow. Peace.